Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Srimad Bhagavad Gita Chapter 8 Akshar Brahma Yog Shloka 1
Arjuna uvacha kintat brahma kimadhyatmam kin karma purushottama adhibhutam cha kin proktam dhidaivam kimuchyate.
Arjuna addresses Lord Krishna as Purushottama and asks, O Supreme Person, what is Brahman, what is Adhyatma, and what is Karma? What is the meaning of Adi Bhuta, and what is Adi Daiva? In the previous chapter, that is chapter 7, Lord Krishna had spoken of several spiritual concepts, and Arjuna, like a sincere student, doesn't want to assume or speculate their meanings. So he respectfully asks the Supreme Lord for precise definitions. This verse reminds us that spiritual growth begins with questioning and seeking clarity. Shloka 2
Adhyagnya katham kotra dehesmin madhusudana prayanakale cha katham jayosi niyatatmabhihi.
Arjuna continues with his query and asks, O Madhusudana, who is the Adi Yagya or the Lord of sacrifice, and how is he present in this body? Also, at the time of leaving this body, how can the self-controlled person know you? Shloka 3
Shri Bhagvanuvacha Aksharam Brahma Paramam Svabhavodhyatmam Uchyate Bhut Bhavodbhav Karo Visarga Karma Sanjita.
The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna said, the imperishable or Aksharam is called the Supreme Brahman. One's own essential nature or Swabhav is called Adhyatma or the individual self. The creative force that causes the birth of beings is called Karma, that is action or work. Shloka 4
Adhibhutam Ksharo Bhava Purushashchadhidaivatam Adhyagno Hamevatra Dehe Dehbhrita Varaha.
The Supreme Lord said, O best of the embodied souls, the physical manifestation or the material world that is constantly changing is called Adi Bhuta. The cosmic being who presides over the celestial gods is called Adi Daiva, and I who dwell in the heart of every living being am called Adi Yagya, or the Lord of all sacrifices. This verse reminds us that our body and our material possessions, that is Adi Bhuta, are all temporary and perishable. Behind all worldly powers and natural forces, Adi Daiva is the cosmic divine principle, and within us, in our very heart, Adi Yagya, the Lord Himself, resides as the inner witness. If we remember that the Supreme Lord Himself is present within us, receiving every thought, word, and action as a form of offering, then our daily work, speech, and choices naturally become more sacred and conscious. Shloka 5
Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yah prayati sa madbhavam yati nastyatra sanshayaha.
The Supreme Lord said, and whoever at the final moment of life leaves the body while remembering me alone attains my divine nature. Of this there is no doubt. This verse encourages us to live with God consciousness daily, because the final moment is uncertain. A mind that is habituated to think of God always during life will naturally think of Him at the time of leaving the body, leading to liberation or moksha. Shloka 6
Yan yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram यतन्तमेवैति कौन्तेय सदा तद्भावभाविताः.
Whatever one remembers at the time of leaving the body, O son of Kunti, that state he surely attains, being always absorbed in such thoughts. This verse expands the principle of verse 5. The last thought of a person at the final moment determines their next birth, because the last thought of a person is shaped by what the mind has been habitually absorbed in during their lifetime. If the mind has always been dwelling on wealth, power, anger, or desires, then the next birth is determined accordingly. But if one has cultivated God's remembrance throughout their life, then naturally the last thought is of God, leading to liberation. Shloka 7.
तस्मात् सर्वेषु कालेषु मामनुस्मर युध्य च मय्यर्पितमनो बुद्धिर्मामेवैष्यस्य संशयम्.
The blessed Lord said, therefore always remember me and do your prescribed duty of fighting this war with mind and intellect surrendered unto me. You will definitely attain me. Of this there is no doubt. This verse teaches us balance. Live in the world, perform your duties sincerely, but keep your heart and mind fixed on the Supreme. Just as a mother keeps her child in mind while doing many tasks, we should keep God in mind while doing our daily work. Such devotion, along with right action, surely leads to union with God at the end of life. Shloka 8.
अभ्यासयोग युक्तेन चेतसा नान्यगामिना परमं पुरुषं दिव्यं याति पार्थानुचिन्तयन्.
The Supreme Lord said, O Arjuna, he who constantly engages his mind in the discipline of practice, that is Abhyasa Yoga, without letting it wander to anything else, attains the Supreme Divine Person by always meditating upon him. Continuous and steady effort in spiritual practice is called Abhyasa. It means repeatedly bringing back the mind to the divine whenever it wanders away by worldly distractions. This is possible by repeated remembrance of God's name through japa and deep contemplation or meditation on the Supreme Being. Such a yogi, through unwavering practice and focused meditation, ultimately reaches God. Shlokas 9 and 10.
कविं पुराणमनुशासितार मनोरणीयांस मनुस्मरेद्या सर्वस्य धातारमचिन्त्य रूपा मादित्यवर्णं तमसा परस्तात् प्रयाणकाले मनसा चलेना भक्त्या युक्तो योगबलेना चैवा भ्रुवोर्मध्ये प्राणमावेश्य सम्यक् सतन् परं पुरुषमुपैति दिव्यम्.
The Supreme Lord is all-knowing, the most ancient one, the controller of all, subtler than the subtlest, the support of all, and the possessor of an inconceivable divine form. He is brighter than the sun and beyond all darkness of ignorance. One who, at the time of leaving the body, with unmoving mind, attained by the practice of yoga, fixes the pran or life air between the eyebrows and steadily remembers the Divine Lord with great devotion, certainly attains him. Shloka 11.
यदक्षरं वेदविदो वदन्ति विशन्ति यद्यतयो वीतरागाः यदिच्छन्तो ब्रह्मचर्यं चरन्ति तत्ते पदं संग्रहेण प्रवक्ष्ये.
The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna said, scholars of the Vedas describe him as imperishable. Great yogis and brahmacharis or celibates renounce worldly pleasures and become free from worldly attachments to enter unto him. I shall now explain to you briefly the path to that supreme goal. Shlokas 12 and 13.
सर्वद्वाराणि संयम यमनोहृदि निरुध्य च मूर्धन्या धायात्मन प्राणमास्थितो योगधारणाम् ओमित्येकाक्षरं ब्रह्मव्याहरन् मामनुस्मरन् याः प्रयाति त्यजन्देहं स याति परमां गतिम्.
At the time of leaving the body, he who closes all the gates of the body, that is the senses, confines the mind within the heart, draws the life air or prana into the head, and engages in the practice of yoga, uttering Om, the single syllable denoting Brahman, and meditates on the Supreme, attains the supreme goal. Shloka 14.
अनन्यचेता सततं यो मां स्मरति नित्यशा तस्याहं सुलभा पार्था नित्ययुक्तस्य योगिनः.
The Supreme Lord said, O Parth, for those yogis who always think of me with exclusive devotion, I am easily attainable to them because of their constant absorption in me. Devotion does not require high scholarly accomplishments or wealth. The Lord promises that He is easily attainable to the devotees who keep Him in their heart and mind with undivided, constant devotion. This verse highlights the power of Ananya Bhakti or exclusive devotion as the simplest and surest path to liberation. Shloka 15.
मामुपेत्य पुनर्जन्म दुःखालयं शाश्वतं नाप्नुवन्ति महात्मानः संसिद्धिं परमां गताः.
After attaining me, the great souls do not take birth again in this world, which is the abode of misery and is transient, because they have attained supreme perfection. Those who attain God through unwavering devotion are freed from the cycle of birth and death. They no longer return to this impermanent world of sorrow, which is described as Dukhalayam Aswasvatam, for they have reached eternal peace and perfection, that is, they have attained liberation or Moksha. Shloka 16.
आब्रह्मभुवनाल्लोका पुनरावर्तिनो अर्जुन मामुपेत्य तु कौन्तेय पुनर्जन्म न विद्यते.
The Supreme Lord said, O Arjuna, all the planets, even up to the abode of Brahma, that is Brahma Loka, are subject to repeated birth and death. But those who attain me, O son of Kunti, never take birth again. Even the highest heavens, like Brahma Loka, are temporary and bound by time. But those who realize the Supreme and unite with Him rise beyond creation itself, attaining eternal liberation and never return to the cycle of birth and death. Shloka 17.
सहस्रयुग पर्यंतम हर्यद ब्रह्मणो विदु रात्रिन युग सहस्रांतान तेहो रात्र विदो जना.
Those who know the nature of day and night can understand that one day of Brahma lasts for 1,000 cycles of the 4 yogas, that is Satya Yoga, Treta Yoga, Dwapara Yoga and Kali Yoga. And his night also lasts for the same period of time. A single day of Brahma equals billions of human years, to be precise 4.32 billion years. Yet, even this vast span of time eventually ends. Thus no world or being within creation is eternal, besides the Supreme Lord who is beyond time. Shloka 18.
अव्यक्ताद्व्यक्तय सर्वा प्रभवन्त्यः रागमे रात्र्यागमे प्रलीयन्ते तत्रैवा व्यक्त संज्ञके.
At the dawn of Brahma's day, all living creatures come into being from their unmanifest state, and at the arrival of his night, they again merge into that same unmanifest state. Thus, everything in the material world is temporary and cyclic, while the supreme reality remains beyond creation and destruction. Shloka 19.
भूतग्राम सः एवायं भूत्वा भूत्वा प्रलीयते रात्र्यागमे वशा पार्था प्रभवत्यः रागमे.
Sri Krishna said, O Arjuna, the same multitude of beings is repeatedly and helplessly born and dissolved again and again. When Brahma's day arrives, they come into being, and when his night falls, they are dissolved. All beings are caught in an endless cycle of creation and destruction, appearing and disappearing helplessly again and again. Only through divine realization and liberation or moksha can one escape this revolving wheel of birth and death. Shloka 20. Parastasmat tu bhavenyo vyakto vyaktat sanatana ya sa sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu na vinashyati. But beyond this manifest and unmanifest nature, there is yet another eternal unmanifest existence, which does not perish even when all others do. Beyond the visible and invisible material world, there is a spiritual, eternal dimension. That is the abode of God, where liberated souls live eternally in peace and bliss. This verse helps us understand the difference between temporary material existence and eternal spiritual reality. Shloka 21. Avyaktoshara ityuktastamahu paramam gatim yam prapya na nivartante tad dhama paramam gatim. The Supreme Lord said that avyakta or unmanifest spiritual realm, which is called Akshara or imperishable, is the supreme goal. Having attained it, one never returns to the material world, and that is my supreme abode. The Lord is assuring Arjuna and all living beings that there is a permanent home beyond this temporary universe, the abode of God, reaching which means no more suffering, death, or rebirth. This is the ultimate spiritual goal of life, Paramam Gatim, that is, to attain moksha or liberation. Shloka 22. Purusha sa parapartha bhaktiya labhyas tvananyaya yasyantasthani bhutani yena sarvam idam tatam. O Arjuna, that supreme person can be attained only by undivided devotion, Ananya Bhakti. He within whom all beings exist and by whom the entire universe is pervaded. Here, Lord Krishna explains how one can reach that eternal abode. He says that the supreme divine being, Parapurusa, can be attained only through single-minded devotion, Ananya Bhakti, not by rituals, knowledge, or austerities alone. The Supreme Person is not just a distant power. He is present everywhere, within every living being and in every particle of the universe. Shloka 23.
Yatra kale tvanavrittim avrittim chaiva yogina prayata yanti tam kalam vakshyami bharatar sabha.
O best of the Bharatas, now I will explain to you the different times at which, departing from this world, the yogis either never return or return again. The Lord will now explain to Arjuna how the time and state of departure from this material world determines whether a soul achieves liberation or returns to worldly life again. Shloka 24.
Agnir jyotir aha shukla shanmasa uttarayanam tatra prayata gachanti brahma vido jana.
Those who know the Supreme Brahman and depart from the world during the time of fire-light day, the bright fortnight of the moon and the 6 months of the sun's northern course, Uttaranaya, go to Brahman, the supreme destination. Here the Lord describes the path of light called the Deva Marga. It is symbolic, not merely about physical time, but about the spiritual state of the departing soul. So let's understand the symbolism. Agni or fire and Jyoti or light represent purity and divine illumination. Aha or day and Shukla or bright fortnight symbolize clarity, knowledge and virtue. Sanmasa Uttaranayam or the 6 months of the sun's northern journey represent the path of spiritual ascent when the sun moves northward, a symbol of upward movement of the soul. Those who have attained knowledge of Brahman or those who have realized God and leave their body in such a state of light, awareness and purity go to the Supreme Brahman and do not return to the cycle of rebirth. That is, they attain Moksha. Shloka 25.
धूमो रात्रिस तथा कृष्णा षण्मासा दक्षिणायनम तत्र चंद्रमासम ज्योतिर योगी प्राप्य निवर्तते.
The yogi who departs during the time of smoke, night, the dark fortnight of the moon, and the 6 months of the sun's southern course, Dakshinayana, attains the lunar light and returns again to rebirth. This verse describes the path of darkness or the Dhuma Marga, which leads the soul back to the cycle of birth and death. Here again the terms are symbolic. Dhuma or smoke represents ignorance or spiritual unawareness. Ratri or night symbolizes darkness and lack of knowledge. Krishna Paksha or dark fortnight means attachment to the material world and incomplete realization. Sanmasa Dakshinayanam or 6 months of the sun's southern course symbolizes a downward or worldly journey of the soul. Those who are still attached to material desires or who have practiced spirituality with incomplete realization go first to Chandraloka, enjoy the results of their good deeds, and then return to earthly existence when their merit is exhausted. Shloka 26.
शुक्ला कृष्णे गति ह्यते जगता शाश्वते मते एकाया यत्यन्यावृत्तिम अन्याया वर्तते पुनः.
These two paths, the bright Shukla Gati and the dark Krishna Gati, are considered eternal paths of the world. By one the soul goes and does not return. By the other it returns again. One leads to liberation and freedom from rebirth. The other leads back into the world. It all depends on the spiritual state of the embodied soul at the time they leave their body. Shloka 27.
नैते स्प्रीति पार्थ जानन योगी मुह्यति कश्चना. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu yoga yukto bhavarjuna.
O Arjuna, knowing these two paths, the bright path that is Devayana and the dark path that is Pitrayana, the yogi is never confused. Therefore, at all times, remain united with yoga. A true yogi understands how these two paths work, and because of this knowledge, the yogi is never confused or afraid about what happens after death. Therefore, Lord Krishna advises Arjuna to always remain in yoga, which means to remain connected to God through devotion, discipline, and awareness. Shloka 28.
Vedeshu yagyeshu tapashu chaiva daneshu yat punya phalam pradishtam atteti tat sarvam idam viditva yogi param sthanam upaiti chadyam.
A yogi who comprehends this profound wisdom transcends all the rewards accumulated through studying the Vedas, performing sacrifices, undertaking austerities, or giving charity, and ultimately attains the supreme eternal state. Good actions like charity, studying of the scriptures, or helping others are important, but they are incomplete without devotion, meditation, and God consciousness. When one lives with constant remembrance of the divine, they go beyond temporary worldly or heavenly rewards. They achieve something permanent, and that is liberation or moksha. Jai Shri Krishna.